Lamar has a back contusion, painful, certainly. Saw him in here getting treatment this morning and this afternoon early, and he'll be working. He's been classified as day-to-day on that. Nothing beyond a contusion, but I don't want to minimize the severity and the pain level of that because it's legit, and that's where it stands.
That's John Harbaugh from yesterday talking about the injury that knocked Lamar Jackson out of the game against the New England Patriots. Look, it was one of those where, is that it? Is that what happened? But you take a knee in the back, you're going to have an issue. And I think bruise was the word that John Harbaugh used Sunday night. You need to use something stronger than bruise because we all get bruised in whatever we do, one time or another. You may get poked in the eye by your wife in the middle of the night. Bruises are going to happen. It's going to take something more than a bruise to keep a football player off the field. Contusion at least sounds more ominous than a bruise. Whatever it was, it kept him from playing, and now he's going to be day-to-day, and we'll see. Look, their backs are against the wall. They've got to win out, and they need the Steelers to falter. And the key is Saturday night, exclusive Peacock game, Ravens at the Packers. If they lose there, it's over. They got to win that one. They got to hope the Steelers lose to the Browns to set the stage for Week 18. We just thought after they played the first time, it's going to be Week 18, winner take all in the AFC North. As it stands right now, may not get there. Need the Browns to win and the Packers to win this weekend to set up Week 18 AFC North Championship in Pittsburgh, Devin.
Yeah, and I remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the remaining schedule, I remember looking at Pittsburgh's schedule and saying, all right, going to Detroit will be tough, but, you know, they're going to play Miami. They got Cleveland on there. And then just looking for Baltimore, it was New England, and it was Green Bay, and it was Pittsburgh. It was like, man, this is going to be a rough stretch. And again, like I heard Lamar after the game say the disappointing thing was felt like they were in a good groove, like they were playing good ball. And it sure looked like to start the game, they were going to run New England right out of Baltimore. And he goes down and like the game changes just like that. And I agree with you. When I first saw Harbaugh, for one, I saw the play and I was just like, damn, is Lamar really not coming back? Like, they got to have this game. Like, this is not a, hey, I'm not sure. And I think especially because usually when guys get hurt, like we hear more about like what's going to happen, or we see them running up and down the sideline. But it was kind of like, hey, he got hurt. It was right before the half, kind of. He goes back in the locker room, and then we see him in street clothes, and you know, we get the report that he's out, and you don't get to see like that movement or hey, they're going to go put, you know, a back thing on it, a hot sticker thing that they put on it. Maybe we didn't really get any of that information. It was just he was out, and then after the game, it was like, oh yeah, he bruised his back. You were like, what? Like he missed the game so I definitely agree. Like getting kneed in the back and whatever that caused for him, it's not just a bruise. I'm sure it's spasmed up. Like he couldn't move due to the knee, but it sounded crazy right after the game to think that he missed the rest of the game because of a bruise.
And Devin, that contributes to just this vibe that I've sensed for multiple years now. There's just something off between the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. It predates his contract, and one of the problems is, and this was documented in the 61-page collusion grievance ruling that the league and the union hid for the players for months, which is still ridiculous. And there was a lawsuit filed late last week by Heather McPhee, longtime NFLPA not general counsel, but staff counsel, and that's part of what she's dredging up. Like, why did the union agree to keep this secret? It was a big deal. But once it came out and we saw some of the difficulties the Ravens encountered in trying to negotiate with Lamar Jackson, I don't think that made him very happy. And I think he wants another contract now, and he hasn't gotten it yet. There's just tension there, unresolved tension, and no easy way to resolve it because they don't communicate effectively. And it just makes me wonder how sustainable it is. Is it fair to wonder how sustainable the Lamar Jackson-Baltimore Ravens relationship is?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember hearing you talk about it, and then now thinking about it from a player standpoint of Lamar's a guy that doesn't operate, doesn't have an agent. And the contact that I had when I was a player with the team was either directly me to Coach Belichick or my agent to, Elliot Wolf at the end of my career, most of my career with Nick Caserio, and like that back and forth of the communication. And a lot of the contract stuff it didn't include me. It included my agent. And that's always been my thing of, I get like some people are always like, hey, if you can negotiate your contract, especially there's some really smart players. Like I remember having a conversation with Richard Sherman when Sherman went and did his, the amount of time he put in. He talked about doing a 10-hour day, a 12-hour day, preparing to go in there and negotiate his contract. And that's just one aspect of that. There comes a time where your contract's up and you're going to have to negotiate a contract and you get that done. But after that's done, there's still other communication between either the player, the player's representation, and the team. I sign a contract 2 years later, going into my third year. They want to restructure the contract to move money around, to be able to do things as a team. Like, if I don't have an agent, that communication needs to be done from GM to player, GM to coach to play. That conversation needs to be had. So when that conversation is not had, and these different elements, like who has those conversations? Who talks about, hey, this happened and I feel this way towards it, because they have a system where they have a front office. They have Eric DaCosta. Then they have Harbaugh. So if everybody stays kind of in their role and Harbaugh handles, hey, I'm going to handle the football side of this, and DaCosta handles the contract side, like it's tough. It's like, imagine a player and you have to hear about how people feel about you, and then you still have to go and perform. It's a different kind of thing. And I've heard players talk about it the first time a coach or a general manager told them exactly how they feel, how they view them when it comes to their contract, how they view them when you compare them to other players throughout the league. It's not an easy pill to swallow and to think about that. So again, I think we never know. I think everything was really spotlighted this, off season, or whenever we think about Micah Parsons getting traded and going to Green Bay, it just puts things in perspective of what we think will last forever is not always the case. So obviously you don't see an exit for Lamar Jackson right now of any sorts, but the way this season has unfolded, the way they've looked even when he got back out on the field, and I know we continue to say like, hey, he's just waiting to get healthy. It just feels like you just said it doesn't feel right for the expectation this team had to now be sitting here going into week 17 saying, hey, like, there's a high chance they don't make the playoffs. Like, it's just a weird thing to have in front of us, because a lot of teams had this team in the Super Bowl.
A lot of employers would prefer not to have an agent to have to deal with. They'd like to be able to deal directly. But sometimes certain things need to be said. Sometimes it's important to have someone as the go-between. And also it can be helpful because the agent has an incentive for the relationship to survive and flourish. And if Lamar's upset about something, the agent can try to calm Lamar down. I'll give you the example. Lamar sees, and this is all hypothetical, Lamar sees John Harbaugh refer to the injury as a bruise. Lamar doesn't like the implicit commentary in the use of the word bruise. He calls up his agent and he says, what's he doing? And the agent says, I'll handle it, Lamar. I'll handle it. I'll give him a call. I'll talk to him about it. And then, problem solved. But when Lamar has, who's going to make that phone call to John Harbaugh on Lamar's behalf? The best agents have all the numbers right here. They press the button, and the coach takes the call. The GM takes the call. The owner takes the call. That's the key. And I got no issue with players representing themselves as long as they understand what they're not going to have. And it's better to have no agent than to have a bad agent. There are bad agents out there. But if you have one of the good agents, that's how that stuff gets handled. That's how they earn their percentage, whether it's 1, whether it's 2, whether it's 3. And I think some guys, frankly, and I don't want to get into a whole thing with Richard Sherman again, I think some guys, frankly, lose sight of the fact they want to have 100% of a pie that is smaller than the pie that they'd have 97% of. At the end of the day, they'd have more pie. They get it all, of the small one. They want to have more pie, but at the end of the day, they're going to end up with less total pie because they're getting all of something smaller than what a good agent would get for them. And you lose the benefit of having that liaison when you get into these issues that are going to come up from time to time in a multi-year relationship that's going to have ups and downs. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.